I just finished watching One Night in Idaho on Amazon. The parts that I found really interesting was looking at Brian as a person, what people that had worked with him, people that had studied with him, been in like study groups with him, worked on certain projects, just what they had to say about him and just his disposition in general, and how some of them could sense that he would have been capable of something like this just by working with. He was just dead behind the eyes. And I know a lot of you will have watched the impact statements like I did, and one thing that I just couldn't take my eyes off of was just his face the entire time, especially when Kaylee's sister was giving her statement, which I thought was brilliant. The entire time she was giving her statement, I just couldn't take my eyes off of him and the way that he was just staring at her. Even to see him through the screen was so scary. I can't imagine being brave enough to get up there and say these things to his face. To see in real time what his face was like, how his facial expressions moved, and then to hear how people that had worked with him or just knew him in passing, how they also noticed those traits. And I was so surprised that they were bringing out a documentary before he had been given sentencing anyway. I know like the timings worked out slightly different, but obviously this has been in the making for a while and the release date was already set, so they didn't really know if his sentencing was going to come before or after that. But seeing how families, like for instance Ethan's family, who haven't gone to any of the press stuff, they haven't really spoken, them having such a key role in the documentary, I'm really glad that obviously their family, and I'm assuming others, are happy with how it's being portrayed. And they did such a good job of showing the person behind the crime, because it's all so easy to like get online and talk about a true crime that you have no idea who these people are and just see it as another case. But I feel like watching a documentary like that, it gives you a tiny look into who these people were, who these victims were before all of this, before they became something for people to pick apart on social media. At one point it even mentions how the survivors and like the general friends, how they were told that it was a targeted attack, and then they were left to think, well, this person's obviously been stalking us, how do we know that we're not at risk? I mean, like, can you imagine being put up in a hotel? Because you find out all the backstory of that, like how the university had like paid for rooms in a hotel. Even that, like for me, I'd be like, am I not a sitting duck being put, even if it was kept like top secret, how do you know it wasn't a member of staff at the university? Because he did turn out to be a member of staff at a university, just not theirs. Kind of goes behind how the friends had been then dissecting social media posts and trying to work out who it was, and kind of just the psychology of turning on people around you, because thinking this must have been a targeted attack by somebody who knows us, and trying to work out who that would have been, and then to be told it was just this random person who would sit outside their house, and they had no idea that this person existed until he was arrested. I won't say it was an enjoyable watch, because how could it ever be, but in their families and hearing firsthand like where their family was when they got the news, it was just made everything real. Worthwhile watch if you were somebody that followed the case from the beginning. Have you seen it? What did you think of it? I'm interested to know your opinions on it.